All right, hello everyone. Last time I was talking about blues form, and we talked about a blues in the key of E, pretty basic. Today I'm going to talk about playing a riff, specifically a riff through the form of the blues. So if you have any questions about blues form in the key of E, just check out the last video called Blues Form. All right, so basically for blues form we have E, A, and B7. We played it rhythmically last time. This time we're going to create a riff. So the first question is, what is a riff? My personal definition of a riff is a short musical phrase, usually played in a low register, not high, that includes both rhythmic, melodic, and, well, not both, all rhythmic and melodic and harmonic information. Those are the three building blocks of music: rhythm, melody, and harmony, any order. I guess I would probably put rhythm. I'd probably say rhythm, melody, then harmony. Anyway, you get the point. Those are the three building blocks of music. If you combine them all in a short musical phrase that is played in a low register, that's a riff. If you combine them all in a short musical phrase that were played in a high register, then I would probably call that a lick, or in a classical context, we just call it like just a short melody, basically. So an example of a riff, you could play like this. That's an Aerosmith riff. That's Guns N' Roses riff. Especially, I'm not using distortion at the moment, so it sounds kind of funny clean, perhaps. But that's a riff. I guess another Guns N' Roses example, if I can still play this. Is that a riff? No. Why? Because it's just played high. And at least to my mind, that's how it works. Like, that has rhythmic, melodic, and harmonic information, but it's played high, so it's a lick of some sort, or a melody. It's not a riff. Okay. So now that we know what a riff is, what kind of a riff can we play and move through a blues form? The easiest way is to start a riff that makes logical sense, that starts on the root of each chord. So for the E chord, that's E. For the A chord, that's A. For the B7 chord, that's B. Pretty simple so far, right? Okay, so what other information am I going to include in this riff? I'm going to include the simplest thing. I'm going to make it the major pentatonic scale. Pentatonic means 5-tone, literally, 5-note scale. In a major context, the notes for the E major pentatonic would be this: E, F sharp, G sharp, B, C sharp, then back to E again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're repeating at E. If I play that down low, that's going to be open, 2nd to 4th fret, 2nd to 4th fret again, and then 2nd fret on that 4th string. I can play all of that in second position, meaning that my first finger, my index finger, is over the 2nd fret the whole time. Okay, so that gives us E. And by the way, those notes ascending from the root up on a major pentatonic scale, that's the same bass line, or you could call it a riff if you're playing it on like guitar or something, from the song My Girl. Where does that song go next? It goes to the 4 chord, which would be A. Beautiful music from a simpler time. So yeah, let me go over the notes for the A chord. So that would be A. Now we're changing the scale entirely to A major pentatonic. So we have A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, back to A. That's what it is on the A chord. But it's the same shape, just shifted over one string, if you wanted to think of it guitaristically. Still all played in second position with my first and third fingers. And the rhythm for that, like, if I wanted to do it just like My Girl, would be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... I'm using alternate picking with the right hand, and I'm trying to play the guitar like a drum, which means down picking for down beats, up picking for the 8th notes in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, etc. You get the idea. The tricky part is going to be when it goes to the B7 chord, right? Make it a B9. Anyway, B7. because now it's shifted, everything is shifted over 2 frets, and we can't use the same easy fingering, so it's not that much more difficult, but I'm going to start on that B note. What would I do? I would just slide like that. So I'd start with my first finger on that 2nd fret. The notes of the B major pentatonic are going to be B, C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, back to B. It's the same shape that we did for A, but just shifted over, sort of like a bar chord or something, which we'll get to. So 1st finger, 3rd finger, slide up to the 6th fret, and then now I'm in 4th position. My 1st finger's over the 4th fret, so that gives me 4th fret, 4th string there for my F sharp, 6th fret for G sharp, back to B. A lot of letters and numbers there. Like that. Same rhythm, same pattern, etc. from the root of each chord. Okay, so once again, quick review of blues. We have E, A, and B7. That's going to be the first phrase is going to start on E. I'm going to make this, I'm going to make this a very typical blues form. So like I'm going to go E first measure, A second measure, back to E, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3. The second phrase is going to be A again, E, 2, 3, 4, E. Now here's the last phrase of 4 measures. Here's the B7 to A, that's 5, 4, to 1, and then why not another B7 there at the end, the 5 chord. Okay, so if I move this riff, first what I would practice is just all of them separately. I described it before. Just do that on each chord. That was E. That's A again. Here's B again. But now I'm going to play. That takes the place of 4 beats, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's 1 measure. So in place of just this E chord to this A chord, 4 beats each, I'm going to play that riff back and forth. I'm going to insert the riff like it's a chord into every measure for that entire blues form, okay? It's going to sound something like this. I'll either count beats or measures as I go. We'll see what happens. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and E, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, E again. A, 2, and 3, and 4, and A, 2, and 3, and 4, and E, 2, and 3, and 4, and E, 2, and 3, and 4, and B, 2, and 3, and 4, and A, 2, 3, 4. Very cool, huh? So that's just playing one blues riff through a blues form, or one whatever kind of riff through a blues form. And it sounds like music. It sounds great, doesn't it? I think it does. So one little trick there that you might have noticed was probably the trickiest part is going to be this jump from the E back to the B7. So like the final phrase, you have B, A, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm just kind of rolling this finger back over from the E to the B note. That's 4th to 5th string. So then I can ascend for the B7. It's actually really smooth when you get used to it, but that might be a difficult thing to get used to right away. Take some time, practice. No stress, have fun. Okay, so now let's do some variations if you've got that down. The other thing I would do, the first thing I would do, this might be the only thing I have time for, but the first thing I would do is instead of doing the exact same My Girl riff, I would vary it in some way. So instead of doing that on the 2nd fret, so it's like E, F sharp, G sharp, I would add some chromaticism to it, which is like that's what Guns N' Roses is doing. I think I played half a Day Tripper, but that's so let's use Day Tripper as an example of instead. And so instead of Guns N' Roses, we're going to the Beatles. The Day Tripper riff is this. Right? So like, what's the first half of that? That's the same thing as the My Girl riff, except it's 1 fret away, 1/2 step away. So instead of F sharp to G sharp, we're using G natural to G sharp. That's like the blue note in a major pentatonic context. You know, if you wanted to, we can go into blues and blues scale and blue note and all that stuff later, but basically we're adding a little bit of chromaticism there, so it's a little bit more interesting to hear this instead of this. It just sounds a little bit more bluesy. So if I do that version of the riff on each chord, G, G sharp, on the E chord, on the A chord that's going to be C to C sharp, so that was E and A. If I go to the B chord, this is going to be a little bit tricky, right? Because we were sliding. Maybe I stretch over, maybe slightly change position already, so that I can reach this 5th fret with my 3rd finger and then slide up D to D sharp like that. And these other notes, I think I did it both without even thinking. You could do this as 1 and 2 and 3, so down, up, down, alternate picking the whole time. Or you could use some left-hand legato. You could play down, up pick with the 2nd finger, and hammer with the 3rd finger to make it legato. But then, at least for me, there's a temptation there to kind of hit the up pick a little bit too hard almost. So anyway, let's see if I can play through it and just stick to alternate picking the whole time. Again, I'm doing the blues riff, which is similar to the My Girl bass line, and I'm putting it through the changes of an E blues, a 12-bar blues in the key of E. But now I'm adding a little bit of chromaticism to make it a little bit more interesting. Let's see how it sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to E. A, E, coming up to the B chord, A, E. I think on the B I was using legato because it's easier to just slide that note, the note over a little bit. But for the most part, I think I was doing alternate picking. I'll have to go back and check. Anyway, so there you go. That's a riff. It's a short musical phrase that combines melodic, harmonic, and rhythmic information all together. It's played in a low register. And those are some examples of what songs that already have them that you might know of and how you can take an idea for a riff and just put it through the chords of a blues form. I hope that's helpful. We're going to check out how riffs are used in some other songs in the future. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.